goodness. See, oh, I could have. A lot of
Uh,
things could have happened. We might not be here. We could have not been here, right?
oh man, oh man. I am clear that some of the behaviors that I exhibited were were not the best from an educator. And I in my
But
mind they were good ideas when I
they
was
were
when I
great.
was
But you know what? I took a
yeah,
lot of.
yeah,
I love being consistent
yeah.
and showing up every day, never giving up. And I had multiple times in my career where I came into a school after the class had already run a teacher out, like run like 4 or 5 teachers out. And then I showed up and I stayed. And at
Oh
the end of the year, this is my
man.
first year in Oakland, LPS, Castlemont campus. They already
Yeah.
got rid of
Okay.
4 teachers that year.
Okay.
And by the end of the year, I'm not going to say her name because maybe
Oh
she doesn't get
man.
back, but she put her arm around me and she does not touch anyone. And she said, "You know what, Mr. Matthew? You're all right."
Oh
And that all
man.
right was the highest honor I could have ever received. You know what? You're all right. You did
Mm,
good.
wow.
And that's
Beautiful.
and that was
Beautiful.
that was that was it, man. That was the work.
Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is Alfredo Mathew III. This conversation is going to start off right away, real fast, and you're going to hear about some legacy of Alfredo and his family. You're going to hear he may even be the fourth, but so far what he remembers is that he is the third. You know, maybe it was a time where people didn't keep track of who's the first, second, third. But like, where did that come from? Where did the numbering yourselves come from? You just get named after maybe your ancestors or your father or your someone in your family. We're going to talk about masks and feelings and ourselves. And, you know, Alfredo and I, our connection goes back a while when he first moved to the Bay Area, when we were part of Go Public Schools Fellowship, the first cohort of educators, learning about how policy comes together. How do you build movements? Now, I was still kind of early in teaching, maybe 5 years at that point, 4 years at that point. But I remember those movement building tools. And ironically, today I run a global movement called the Million Mask Movement. Now, uh, the mobile movement is a part of what this podcast is. The mobile movement. What did I say? The global movement is a part of what we're talking about today. These masks that we ask people to make from all over the world, more than 30 countries have participated. Now, we don't have the kind of movement yet where we have people on the ground in those countries making masks of other people, but the word is spreading. The collaborations are starting, and the connections with people all over the world is growing. We thank you for being a part of this podcast. We hope that you will share this message with somebody. If you have not yet made a mask yourself, we invite you to go do that. The new website is millionmask.org. Millionmask.org. The 100K mask site will still work. So if you're already using that site and sharing it with people, keep sharing it. It will always work. But the new site for the Million Mask Movement is millionmask.org. And you can be a part of the Million Mask Movement right now, anonymously. Join the other thousands of people who have said, there's more to me than you can see. I have so many stories I want to tell you right now in this intro, but I'm going to let you get into this conversation. And please stay tuned because we may have a bonus episode in a you just look out for the bonus episode because I have a feeling that when we're at South by Southwest coming up pretty soon, and I don't know if you're going to hear this episode before South by Southwest or after, but we're going to be at South by Southwest EDU. We got a presentation, we have a booth in the expo, and we will be screening Beyond Men and Masculinity with the director, Alex Gabe. Stay tuned for what's coming to be a part of this work. And you can say, you know, you were a part of it way back then. Before they reached 100,000 masks, you were a part of it. You were listening to these conversations, and maybe you want to be a part of these conversations too. We so appreciate you for all you do, and we look forward to connecting with you as we continue helping people all over the world realize that they are not alone. Have a great day, folks. Thanks for listening. Please share, like, subscribe, comment, whatever the ways you can engage. Please help us get the word out about this. And let me say this. Actually, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I do need to say this. I guess this is the benefit of being able to have a platform to say hello to people. More than ever, if you're watching the news, and if you're not watching the news, let me just tell you what's happening in the news. Our young people are calling out for help. Our young people are calling out for people to see them, hear them, take notice of them. We can't keep pretending like we don't hear them. Now, if you don't watch the news, you may not see this, and sometimes I don't even want to be the fact that I watch it myself, but because I'm a part of this global movement and we're talking to people about masks, I am seeing it show up all over the world, all over the Bay Area, all over the country. Thank you for the work that you're doing. If you're working with youth, please keep supporting them. Please let us know how we can partner with you to help the young people navigate those emotional masks. We appreciate you, and we look forward to you being a part of this journey with us. Please enjoy today's episode with Alfredo Mathew III. Welcome to the Taking Out the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is Alfredo Mathew III.
That's right.
Preface that, and I'm looking forward to learn more about that. We're so glad to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Great to be here, Shanti. Really happy to meet your community and see what this is all about.
Man, I'm glad you're here. Listen, we want our guests to share the most pressing thing, the bio you may have, but I ultimately want you to share. Tell us about you. Tell us about yourself, and take a few minutes just to share what you want people to know about you, and then you and I will jump into this mask work.
Okay, cool. Well, since you brought up the third, wait one moment.
Okay. Oh, this is exciting. This is not planned. So,
because you want me to talk about stuff that I normally don't talk about, right?
well, this is your intro, so you can
This
go
this is
wherever
my
you're ready to
intro.
go.
Bang. This right here is the best thing I've ever written in my life. When I was in the 6th grade, I wrote a biography of my grandfather, Alfredo Mathew I. I never met him. He died when I was a couple months old, but I interviewed my father and some of my uncles, my titis and my tios, and I learned about my grandfather. And I wrote this, and my parents were so proud that they typed it up. Actually, I typed it up because I took typing, and my parents framed it, and I still have it with me. And so that is how I'll introduce myself. That I actually might be the fourth, Alfredo Mathew IV. My grandfather came from Bayamon, Puerto Rico, to New York in like 1927. And my grandmother met my grandmother in New York in Spanish Harlem. They're actually cousins. And and I guess back in the day it was okay to marry a cousin. So that's something else that my family doesn't talk about that much. But I think in the spirit of taking off the mask, I'm going to talk about some things that I normally don't talk about because most people truthfully don't ask.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for jumping in right there, and how amazing that you talked about the typewriter. Like, that's so beautiful, and I'm glad you still have that. That's a great memory.
Hmm.
And family, I think, is really important, right? I think for me, I think grandfather. When I think about grandfather, like, I'm named after my mom. Made up the first name, but Branch is my father's name. But he died before I was born, right? So even just starting there with, like, you talk to your father about your grandfather, like,
Mm,
I lost my father and my grandfather in the same month, literally 3 months before I was born. So 3
mm,
months before I was born, my father, and right before him, his father had passed. And so I lost 2 generations right before I showed up. So to
mm.
hear that makes my heart really open, and I'm glad that you had to do that. And I think sometimes we miss that connection. Sometimes when we talk about kids being raised by single parents, I think in my community, definitely here in Oakland, right? Like
Mm.
people on the outside who may not get it, they can't understand. Well, you just work hard and get through it, right? But it's an emotional thing. It's a lack of legacy being passed down to you sometimes, and not that you can't continue to live a great life without having those people in your life. But I think it's so beautiful, and when I hear the story, it really touches me. So
Well,
thanks for sharing that.
it's it's even more than that, right? Because I lost my dad when I was 19, and so I got to have those conversations with my dad when I was a kid. When I wasn't that curious. I mean, if I have my father, right? Think about what we could ask our father as adults to another adult. Like, I wish that I could ask my dad all kinds of things that I could have gotten his approval for all these different things. So much of everything that I've done in my life is to make my dad proud,
Mm. Oh,
right?
we do.
Right? We just jump right in. We just jump right in.
Okay. Yeah, we're in it. We in there. We
Yeah.
when you say that sentence again, please say that sentence again. You please say that.
Every Just about everything I've done in my life
Hmm.
has been to earn my father's approval. Just about everything. I carry that. And I had my dad my first 19 years of life,
Yeah. Oh man.
but I haven't had him the last, oh my God, 20, 29 years.
Mm. I am
Hmm.
so okay, so my middle school story of high school well, middle school, just growing up, I had a rough middle school. So if it wasn't for a teacher who kind of really helped me get back on track, um, and what I had done up until that moment is I had used my father's death and him not being around as a this thing that I was gonna push myself to, like, be angry about it. Like, I was carrying this anger because in my community, being sad, you can't be sad. Nobody got room for
Hmm.
sadness. Nobody cares about your worry, your doubts, your whatever. I was just supposed to deal with it. And I
Yes.
remember when I turned it around is when I went from being angry that my father was gone, that I didn't have a father, like being really jealous of other young men who get dropped off at school by their father, or their father goes on
Hmm.
a field trip with us. I was like, I felt that loss, that loss that I never had. It was almost like,
Hmm.
how can you miss something you never had? You can, when people can
Hmm.
you miss something you never can? Does a tree make a sound in the woods even though you can't see it? Oh, you can feel it, right? It's like
Hmm.
something happens as a connection to all these energy fields, right? And I changed my context from like how not to be angry that he was dead, but to like to want him when he's looking down at me to be like, I'm proud that's my son. That's my son
Hmm.
right there. And I think when you said that, it was like, what? What? And it
Hmm.
was, and I'm clear that since I was, 12 years old in middle school, having that conversation in detention and walking home that day, like when the things switched around, it was just a context switch from being angry of
It
him
was,
not being here and trying to want him to be proud of me,
it was a reframe.
a
How did
reframe.
you reframe something that was tragic, something that was hard? Because I think not everyone knows how to reframe.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the big question. I think, when you tell your bio or your story, it sounds really easy. Oh, I just went home that day and then I decided to change. And it probably was a lot more happening in my 12-year-old brain at the time. I mean, I was living in a house um, with my mom and her husband, who was a mean guy, who wasn't
Hmm.
kind, he wasn't nice. I don't even think he even liked us, me and my siblings.
Mm.
He loved his son,
Hmm.
and that relationship was tenuous. Like, I was excited the first when my family was gonna get married. I was like, "I'm gonna have a father? What's up?"
Yeah.
And he was nice. He took me to wrestling before they got married, and as soon as the wedding happened, boom, it all switched. It was like a
Dang.
nightmare. Like, what the heck happened? And I realized, oh, this is gonna look different than I thought.
Yeah.
I got sucked into the bright lights of WWE, right?
Yeah.
And the Oakland Coliseum, and I thought, oh, my life is gonna be amazing. And then it was just a
Yeah.
setup for a tenuous and traumatic growing up. But I think what happened is I was looking for a father. A man came along. I thought was going to be the father. He wasn't. And I'm like, wait, what happened? I thought it was about to start getting better. And I was still, before that, still really angry about my father. But I knew that, okay, now this man's not my father. So now I'm even more angry. Okay. A father figure comes along who's the stepfather. My mom even thought I was supposed to call him daddy. Right. But then you
Mm-hmm.
imagine, and he's not fatherly. He's not being a father to us. He's been a father to his son. And we're like watching it happen. But so I think what happened was is the context of that teacher saying, "Listen, Ashanti, this is what the magic sentence she said to me. She said, "Listen, life doesn't give us what we want. Life gives us what we get, and we got to make the most out of it." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in detention. First of all, I didn't want to hear what she had to say. Second of
Yeah.
all, I liked this teacher before this moment. Third of all, and I was like, how you gonna make the most of a situation where you have no father and you have a guy in the house who's now an evil guy? And I was
Yeah.
like, what would, and I think it was just like more of like me asking myself questions, not being not really wanting to be stuck. Like I was acting like I was dumb in school. And
Yeah.
I was smart. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that what happened was what if my dad was here? I think more of the question like, why are you not here? And I think when I'm looking for those answers, I grew up in church. I believe in God, right? I'm like, why me? Why do I? And I think something was just like, he's watching you. I don't know, maybe watch a movie where, I think that was around the season of Touched by an Angel. I think it was a TV show where there was like
Mm-hmm.
people looking down at people and watching them and like saying, I think Della Reese was in one of these shows where they look down and like, oh, I'm so proud of him. He's gotten so better, right? They helped them through these little moments of making things better in their life. And then they look at after the end of the show and they're like, oh, so great. And I was like thinking, maybe my dad is watching me. Maybe he's watching me act like a fool in school, act like I'm dumb in school, and he's like, "What is he doing?" And I just started think I don't like I said, I'm trying to answer that question like what's the switch? I don't really know. I just know that my context changed, and as I look back, I don't know. I remember just thinking, how about I just try and make him proud instead of being mad that he's not here? It was that reframe, but I don't know all the steps that took to get it to in action.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, life is pretty short, and
For sure.
right, and you can be angry, you can stay stuck, as you said,
Yeah,
or you can figure out your why, your purpose, right? What are the
yeah,
gifts that God gave you, and
that's
how do
right.
you make the most of them? And you seem to have, right? Because I've known you for about 10 years,
Yeah.
and since the moment I met you up until today, right? Taking off the mask, like that's your purpose, right? Like you
Yeah.
found your thing that you care about more than anything in this. You found what you are living for what you would die for, right? And you
Yeah.
are on that path and it gives you meaning
Yeah.
and you're doing it. And I found a way to find my purpose and I love my life and I'm doing it. And
Man.
and I wish and I want everyone find your purpose. What is that
Yeah.
thing they want that makes you excited to get up in the morning and live and just do it
Yeah.
for as long as you can.
Well, man, maybe. I mean, I think we're already in the show. Where, as you know, this is not an interview,
Yeah.
so let's do these masks, and I imagine the rest is going to come out because I would love to hear what you're passionate about and what's got you alive because I think that's what we all need, right? We all need that space of like, man, the journey, looking at the journey, looking back, you're probably like, why am I doing this thing? Why am I doing this thing? And then you look back, and you're like, oh, I know why I had to do that. I know why that happened to that happened to that. Like putting the dots together, looking back, right? I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's
looking back, it makes sense.
yeah.
Going
Why you
through it, it doesn't always make sense.
like
Yes.
what am I doing here? Like what
Yeah.
like where we met. We met in this policy fellowship, right? At Go Public Schools, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm like,
Mhm.
I ain't trying to be no politician. Well, why am I? Not that it was trying to make you a politician, but I was like,
Well,
this is all
we're
why am I
we're 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 trying to figure out teacher leadership and education reform and how do we have more equitable schools
oh man.
and that was in 2012 and we were both experienced educators by
Yeah.
that point, right? I had
Yeah.
been teaching for 12 years. You had probably
Yeah.
been teaching about
10.
that time.
Yeah.
Like you had a previous career as an engineer, right? Like I mean, like we were men and we were doing this and we recognized the limitations of the system we were in
Ooh-wee.
and we took different pathways, but we left
That's right. That's right.
and we found a higher calling and we realized we're really good at what we do,
Yeah.
but we didn't fit inside the educational bureaucracy.
That's right. And I think what I learned even with that program, every time we would meet and I would read these articles, I realized how much I knew and didn't know about how messed up it was, right? How
Mm.
messed up this is. Like when you read these things and you're like, what's this? Right. And you're like, you just feel like the rush of like, is that why it was so hard to find, all the things you were realizing as growing up? Cause I was growing up here, right? And I think when I thought about, oh, this is how the system is all messed up in this way, right here in the small little town
I
of
mean,
Oakland compared
Oakland schools. Oakland schools. I mean, I know, right? You went to Fremont High School, right?
Fremont High School. Yep.
And you ended up being a teacher, assistant principal there, right? You did. I mean, Oakland. I mean, I love Oakland, and Oakland is resilient. But when have the schools not been in crisis? When have they not been in crisis? How can you have a community
Mm, mm, mm.
where the schools, which are supposed to be the safe place,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
place that
Yeah.
addresses all of the inequities that are in society, right? Because that's what we were sold. We
Yeah.
were sold that
Yeah.
education is the, and I know this in life. There's three ways to gain wealth:
Yeah.
own the land,
Yeah.
own a business,
Yep.
get an education.
Yeah.
Education is the thing that once you have that, it can never be taken away.
That's
You
right.
can lose the
That's right.
business, you can lose the land. Once you have an education, you just have that. I mean, like
Yeah,
knowledge, you just have it.
that's right.
Yet right, I was only in Oakland for 12 years, right? I moved in 2009,
Yeah.
crisis. But
Yeah.
I came right from the South Bronx, crisis,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like these systems are just in crisis, and it's a
Yeah.
financial crisis. It's a teaching crisis. And you
Yeah.
can't, and as an educator, you can't learn when you're in crisis. You can't learn when you're stressed. You're not. Your heart is not open to learning, right? When if your
That's
dad
right.
is if your dad is gone and your stepdad is mean,
Yeah.
who cares about world history and algebra?
That's right. Who
Right?
who cares about any of that? And who cares about any of those adults who think they know more than me, right?
Yeah,
Like you know more about me about something I don't even care about. So stop talking to me, right? Like I don't care about social
yeah,
studies and all the stuff you're talking about. So
yeah,
you don't know more than me about things that matter to me.
yeah. But you know what? As a teacher,
That's right.
I never, and I taught for 14 years, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something else we have in common.
Yeah.
We're educators,
That's
right?
right.
First and foremost, I love being an educator. I have no regrets of being a teacher and being with kids. All I tried to do was consistently be positive and give love and a good structure
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew that my lessons were not the greatest lessons, that they might
Mm.
not care about apartheid or they might not care about the Holocaust. I would try and make the lessons relevant and engaging,
Yeah.
but I knew they have other stuff going on. But you know what?
Mhm.
I greeted them at the door every day with a pound, a smile, and I could tell within that first greeting who is okay, who is not okay. And I learned not to push people's buttons. Don't piss kids off. Be be on their side. Like,
That's right.
don't. But earlier on, of course, I had
Yeah.
confrontations and I challenged, and we're gonna be high performing every single day. Man,
Man.
man,
Man.
what I did not know. What I
Oh
didn't know.
boy. Oh, I can't wait. What we should have a talk. We should have another episode where we talk about the time we pushed some kids' buttons because those are
Oh
some
yeah.
stories that will
Oh,
last a
oh,
lifetime. Because
oh
I've
my
pushed some, didn't even
goodness.
know I was pushing, and some I was like, "Oh, I'm about to push this one." Like, and
Oh
boy, oh
yeah.
boy,
Oh
boy, oh boy.
my goodness. See, oh, I could have a lot of
Uh,
things could have happened. We might not be here. We could have not been here, right?
oh man, oh man. I am clear that some of the behaviors that I exhibited were were not the best from an educator. And I in my
But
mind, they were good ideas
they were
when I
great.
was
But you know what? I took a
yeah,
lot of.
yeah,
I love being consistent
yeah.
and showing up every day, never giving up. And I had multiple times in my career where I came into a school after the class had already run a teacher out, like run like 4 or 5 teachers out. And then I showed up and I stayed. And at
Oh
the end of the year,
man.
this is my first year
Yeah.
in Oakland, LPS, Castlemont campus. They already
Oh,
got rid of
okay.
4 teachers that year.
Okay.
And by the end of the year, I'm not going to say her name because maybe
Oh
she doesn't get
man.
back, but she put her arm around me and she does not touch anyone. And she said, "You know what, Mr. Matthew? You're all right."
Oh
And that all
man.
right was the highest honor I could have ever received. You know what? You're all right. You did
Mm,
good.
wow.
And that's
Beautiful.
and that was
Beautiful.
that was that was it, man. That was the work.
Oh man. So we're about to jump. See, I'm gonna write a note right there because I think, and this is probably connected to the mask, right? That we're gonna talk about. If the highest honor a person can give another human is to say you're all right, I wonder what beliefs that person has about giving positive feedback and showing kindness with words, and the fact that words have power from the negative side and the positive side. And I think that what we know as educators, but also as I've seen is like if a person has to do so much to just get you to tell him they're all right, definitely let's talk about like not adults. I mean, but this is an adult situation, right? Where you recognize that this person didn't give out a lot of positive words, meaning to people.
Mm,
How many teachers get deflated before they get to all right? Maybe they've been sucking for so long, and they're just like, man, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm right. And I think that that is a lesson that we got to help adults realize too with kids. Kids should believe they're amazing because they're amazing. And
mm,
when they do extra, they become like you are building your future amazing self right now. Like, and I think that oftentimes even teachers fall into that trap of holding back on positive feedback because they're not where we want them to be, or they're not where they think they should be. But man, what have they been through? What's happened to
mhm.
them that we can't see, that we don't know? And we sometimes a positive word is what I've had kids who I didn't think liked me, but I gave
Mm,
my best to them and realized later they were like they really liked my class. They didn't like math so
yeah,
much, but they liked me. And I'm like,
yeah.
what? You were always
Uh,
frowning at me. You know what I'm saying?
you had those kids who gave you trouble every day, and then graduation. Thank you, Mr. Branch. I really appreciate you, man. You were the best teacher, right? They wait until graduation to show appreciation, and then right, and then they're out in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I have learned is that we're all motivated by progress.
Mm,
We need to see progress. And the first
yeah.
book I read this year is called The Gap and the Gain. It's just one of those kind of like high performance
Mm.
books, whatever.
The
And it
gap
talks
and the
about
gain.
the gap and the gain. I'm gonna talk about
Okay.
a couple books today. But but it talks about reframing things rather than thinking about what you don't have, what the gap is between who I am today and who I want to be. Think about
Mm,
your gain.
mm,
Focus on your gain. You know what? I got up this morning. I got
yeah.
dressed and I showed
Yeah.
up to school. That's a gain because some
Mm,
other people, don't even have the motivation to get up and go to school, or some other people don't have a home, or some other people
Mm.
didn't have breakfast or don't have toothpaste,
Ooh-wee.
right?
Ooh-wee.
And it's like, think about all the things, right? Like you could think, and I know, right, you're a very ambitious guy. You want to do what, like 10 million masks?
One, at least one. At least one. We're starting with one.
But I mean, like, you have this like big vision.
That's right. That's right.
But think about how far you've come in the
Yeah.
last 10 years.
Mm, hmm,
And
hmm.
how do we get motivated based on our
Yeah.
progress, as small as that progress may be?
Oh man. Oh man. Oh, okay. All right. Well, th-
Mhm.
okay. How far we've come, and this is going to be on the back of my mask, and I think it's already here right now. So let's do this. Let's jump in because I want to talk about that, and I think how far I have come, and like, whew. All right. So here's how it works, and I think this is going to be good. The reason I'm like speechless because I'm like, am I gonna? This is the back of my mask, whether you know it or not. Like when I don't often give myself credit for how far I have come. My
Mm.
mind is always like where I am now and how far it is where I'm trying to get. It's almost
Mhm.
never given any credit to the part that the journey that has been up to this moment, right? And I think that's a detriment. It's dangerous. It's dangerous, right?
Mhm.
It's a source of. So I appreciate you bringing it because it's already come in there. So the way the look, let's do it like this. You get to decide who goes first, and we'll share a mask. And I imagine it's going to loop back to that because it's on the back of my mask already. So
Well, you share because I've never made a mask before. I don't.
okay,
I mean, I know you. I mean, I know this. I have a list. I know what's on my face and I know what's on my back. But I want to
okay,
see. I want to hear your mask. I want to see your mask.
okay. All right. Well, I'll show the. I'll do the front first. You want me to go front and back, or you want me to
No,
go
let's just do front,
front?
and just
Okay.
and be kind to me because
Yeah.
I'm a newbie. So right. So be kind, but let me
Oh
hear it.
man, you're a teacher. You're. I think you're an expert already. Let's. So the front. Here's what I created. I created that. Uh, it's a piece of. Well, it's just that's the mask I created basically, and here are the words. I wrote serious, caring, and I was gonna write another one, and I left a blank, and I put dedicated. Serious, caring, and dedicated. And I think if I was gonna like add another, the reason I had a blank there is because I put serious and caring to connect it because oftentimes the serious part of me is shows up first. Like I want to get stuff done. I got things I want to do. I got goals. I got like big visions. And as much as, but underneath it is caring for my community, caring for youth, caring for people, like wanting this mission to help others, right? And so it's really deeply connected. The serious part is connected to the caring. And oftentimes people they can miss the caring because it's underneath the serious part of me. Like, and I don't.
Hmm.
And so I would say I think I think I'm funny. I don't maybe my jokes aren't funny, but I think I'm funny, and so I would
That's good.
so I would also write funny. So uh, I definitely like to laugh. So I don't know if I'm funny, but I like to show that I enjoy
Yeah.
laughing. I enjoy uh, feeling lighthearted around things and dedicated. I'm dedicated to this work. I'm dedicated
Yeah.
to this dream. Um, and yeah, I'll share one thing about the dedicated part, and it actually is part of it connects to the back too. But I have a young man who I know who's incarcerated, and I got locked out of the system to be able to write him on this app that they have called JPay, right? Um, and I hadn't written him for almost a year, and I didn't realize it had been that long. But I had tried to figure out how to get my password back and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, opened an email from him that he wrote several months ago, and he was like, "Hey, you asked me what I write a piece for your book. What do you want me to write about?" And I realized that I am probably no further along on the book in my mind than I was a year ago when I asked him because I hadn't talked to him in over a year, but he was reminding me of it, and I was like, I felt kind of embarrassed, right? I was like, I'm dedicated to this thing of this dream and this goal of building this organization. And oftentimes the difficult part in that is that I'm not as dedicated to my own dreams and goals. It sounds it sounds hard to describe because ever forward is this dream, but I think my own personal projects, because it feels like I'm being selfish. It feels like I'm so anyway. That's coming toward the back, but I'll stop there because that's the front. That's the things I gladly let people see. So let me just go there.
So I will say we don't know each other that well, right? I run
Right.
into you in the Costco parking lot, see you at Eugene's 40th backyard bash,
Yep.
you know, uh, we'll see you around at the educator things every once in a while.
That's right.
But I have been following you, right? And you've been following
Mm.
me. We've been, we circle each other. We exchange the note. You give me, oh, that's great, man. I'm so proud of you, right? Like you just we know what each other is up to. We have common friends,
Yeah.
but without seeing your back, I already know how much you are invested in Ever Forward, right? Adelante siempre,
Siempre.
and how hard it is for you to separate Ever Forward from Ashanti Branch,
Oh
and
boy.
how much you give to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and how little you
Yeah.
give to yourself, because this
Yep.
child, Ever Forward, is your life. I
Man.
know,
Yeah. Yep.
I know. And
Yeah.
as a parent, when my daughter was born, the doctor, because we weren't sleeping, whatever, and went into Kaiser, right, Kaiser Oakland,
Yeah.
and the doctor was like, we were complaining, just like it's not about you anymore. Like this is no, you can't complain. It's not about you anymore, and
Mm.
your child does not need to be your birth child. Like you can give birth to a
Yeah.
movement. You can give
Yeah.
birth to your purpose. Your
Yeah.
purpose is your child. So
Yeah.
you found your purpose, but Ashanti, we all have bodies, and
Yeah.
we all live in vessels,
That's
and
right.
we need and your purpose is not going to get fulfilled during this lifetime.
Mm.
No one is going to end anything
Yeah.
in this. No one's going to end racism, poverty,
Yeah.
injustice, like loneliness, fear.
Yeah.
It's the human condition.
Yeah.
So you got to take care of yourself, and our organizations
Mm.
are not necessarily going to outlast us,
Yeah.
or they can outlast us. But I mean, how many organizations or companies have been around for 1,000 years,
Yeah.
right? A few
Man.
religions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
life is impermanent,
That's right. That's right.
and that
That's
doesn't
right.
mean that we're not important or what we
Mm.
contribute to life is not important. The
That's
institutions
right.
we create are not going to live forever, but the
Mm.
energy, and you spoke about this, the energy, the way we live,
Yeah.
this will live on forever, right?
Yeah. And how that energy gets passed along to others who pick up the torch and then do it in their
Yeah,
life and then do it in their life and how it ripples, that's the goal. That it ripples out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Okay. All right. Well, that was the front. That was the front. Now your turn.
I didn't draw an image, but
Oh,
I'll
don't
I'll
worry
do it
about it.
like
Don't
this.
worry.
You can barely see it, but I am a what people see
Okay.
hustler,
Mm.
dreamer, and competent.
Okay.
And I could have said dedicated, but I said competent, and I said hustler. One, because I'm from New York, and I feel
Mm.
like New York gave me my hustle. Like I'm
Mm.
used to fast paced. I'm used to a mile a minute. And I love that about teaching, right? In teaching, you're making a decision every 5 seconds. Who do you respond to? Who do you not respond to? Someone's at the door, kids got to go to the nurse, but you're teaching this lesson. You're getting someone focused on the Chromebook over here. you're thinking through, all right, how much time is on the clock? Where at this point of the lesson, oh wait, she's, oh man, she's on her cell phone, right? And so like you're doing all this stuff, but I love being with people, and I love that hustle. And I recognize when I left teaching and I went into the nonprofit world, and now as a business owner, I love it. Like, this is not hard. Like, I love fast pace and moving.
Mm.
Um, and some of that,
Oh,
and then the other part is dreamer. I've been a
ooh,
dreamer my whole life,
yeah,
and I have big dreams, and and it's ambition,
yeah,
right? It's in
yeah.
dreams. It's for the community. It's for like how I want to see the world,
Mm,
and I want to make those dreams real. I don't want them to stay dreams. I want to like pull them down to earth and like operationalize them, which is why I love
yeah,
entrepreneurship and business, because
yeah,
it's taking a vision and it's taking
yeah.
values and a mission, and it's creating a product or a service that adds value that people pay for. And it's this exchange of value. And so my last one is
Mm,
competence. Like, I like getting things done,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And like what I'm working on right after this call is I've got to go focus on like, my 30, 60, 90, right? For this thing. I've,
Mm,
I've got my strategic plan, right? We have our
nice.
strategic plan. I've got my part of it. I need to articulate, here's the big objective. What
Yeah.
are the smaller goals? What are the tasks? And like keep people informed what I'm really working on, making sure I'm
Mm.
prioritizing the most important things. And I just want to get a lot done.
That's powerful. 30, 60, 90. I've not done that in a long time. Not done one of those. I think that's a very valuable. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. I'm gonna,
Mm,
yeah, that's a nugget. I'm gonna work on this week.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, man. Well, that's the front.
mm,
That's the front. That's the things we
yeah.
gladly let people see, right? And now we talk about the back. The back is sometimes very different than the front. And so here's my back. The back, fear of failure, sadness, and not enough. And I think I'm gonna focus. I think the not enough and the fear of failure are connected, but I think connected to what you said earlier, like how far we've come from, like that gap, right? Like
Mm-hmm,
where I am, like the they said the gap in the gain,
yeah.
like who I am versus who I want to be, and the gap in between. And I think that I actually am always like right there between where I am and where I want to be, and it always seemed like the goal is like keeps moving, right? I mean, I moved the goal. Listen, during the pandemic, we went from the 100,000 mask challenge, which
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we were getting close, and some brilliant part of my brain said, you know what, we should be going for 1 million. So,
Yeah.
so as I get close to 100,000, like we were at 50 around that time, I then move it out 10 times, 100,000, 10 times. And then I look back and like, how are we gonna do that? I don't really know. But I think that the part of me is like, it's exciting to do. Like when you talk about being a hustler, like going after it, like I'm hungry for it, right? But also sometimes I'm like, you were so close to the goal. Like, why would you move the goal away from yourself intentionally? And but I think that's part of the feel sometimes that I often don't look back. I mean, we're at 60,000 right now. Like, I wanna be already at 1,000,000, and I think sometimes I miss the journey because I get stuck in the final goal, and I'm learning, I'm getting better at it, but I think that is part of my goal is, like, what do we wanna accomplish? Like, I told the team, I wanna have we should hit 1,000,000 this year. That that's that's a
What is the impact of 1 million? Tell me what the impact is.
well, I think the impact for me, I mean, it's a beautiful number, right? That aside, for me, it's the impact of how many people have come to a place of recognizing that there's so much more to them than people can see, and there's so much more to other people than they can see just by looking at them. I think that oftentimes we get judged or we judge people, we don't know their story. We don't know what's
Of
going on
course.
behind the scenes.
Of
And I think
course.
the impact is just more people recognizing. I think it hopefully builds more empathy and more kindness and more care. I think we need more of that in the world, right? So I yeah, yeah. So that's the impact I want to have by helping people through that process, by making this mask and recognizing, oh yeah, I have a mask, and maybe people around me also, and beginning to have deeper conversations like this. Like
Yeah.
why we known each other for 10 years, but we haven't like I didn't know about the letter you wrote about your grandfather. Not that that would be in any random conversation, but like that's a cool story, right? Like, but
Yeah.
imagine how quickly I learned about it today in like 5 minutes. I learned about
Hmm.
that story, and I think that's what I'm talking about with
Because
these.
because you created the space
That's right.
and you invited me to do that. So I didn't give you my bio. I didn't list off my accomplishments. You said, really, you could do. I just want to know who you really are.
Mm,
And no one really cares who I really am because I'm talking to people all day long and we're just talking about to-do lists.
yeah,
Most people look at me, right?
yeah,
Most people hit me up on LinkedIn because they want something, right? That's most, I mean, I work with the same people every day. And we have real love for each other, right? As
yeah,
as adults now,
yeah, yeah,
oh my God, it's your family
yeah.
and it's your work family.
That's right.
That's who cares about you.
Yeah,
Because like my friends are all over the country doing different things. People are busy. I rarely get to see friends. Even, people I love like Alfred.
yeah.
Never see that guy. You know what I mean? But it's like there's people I love. I never we're busy adults. So it's the people I work with and it's
Mm,
my immediate family.
that's right.
That's who I have. But it's like most people, it's just very surface.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and it's fine. Like we can't go there deep, but you created a space
yeah,
where you
yeah.
said, I know what you're showing me is not all that you are.
And I've a place of love as out of a place of connection, not at a place of judging, right? Out of a
Yeah.
place
Like
of
like like ooh, if I reveal something, then you can be like, yeah, I thought so.
yeah. None of that. None of that.
Yeah.
The most more of the idea that, yeah, man, how deeply connected I am to that joy that you shared about that story, that oh yeah, like those things of like connecting, right? I think that we have more of that, and we need more of that as a teacher, as educators, as people who are maybe teaching in different ways. When you're leading, there's some teaching in there, right? But knowing that people don't care how much you know usually until they
Oh,
know how much you care, right? And I think that
yeah.
that that statement shows up so many times in the work, and so thank you, brother. That's the back of me.
Our backs are very similar.
Okay, okay, okay,
We got 2 out of 3.
okay. Wow. All right.
I got I got
Oh.
undervalued. I
Mm,
meaning I undervalue myself, fear of failure,
hmm,
and I have chip on my shoulder.
mm,
So
mm.
wait, what was your third one?
Oh, I had a fear, sadness, fear of failure, and not enough.
Not enough. So that not
Yeah,
enough, that's that chip on my shoulder, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, right, like I'm not a sad person. Like
yeah,
I'm like I've hit rock bottom in my life, and I've got like we all have like a natural equilibrium.
yeah,
I'm like a 7. I'm like optimistic. I'm a 7. Like punch me in the face, I'm gonna fall down. I'm gonna be set, but then I'm gonna go right back to a 7.
yeah, yeah.
But I have undervalued myself for most of my life.
Mm,
I never thought I was good enough. When I was a kid, I stuttered. They wanted to put me in special ed. My parents fought for me to, not get removed from the classroom. And, I was a daydreamer. I could not do the academics. Like, I was in the lowest reading, the lowest math, like all elementary school. And then, sometime in middle school, things just kind of clicked.
Yeah.
But I always felt like I wasn't good enough. And then losing my dad, and my dad was a very successful guy. Like my dad was, he was larger than life. He came from, nothing, right? Spanish Harlem, was a superintendent, first Puerto Rican
Mm.
superintendent in New York City schools. So imagine going into being an educator in the South Bronx,
Yeah.
and your father, who died, was a former superintendent in the
Wow.
Bronx.
Wow. Wow.
And I was trying to like step into his shoes, and I was trying to make him proud. And all I could feel was, I'm never going to be as great as my dad. New
Yeah.
York is a very heavy place,
Yeah.
and he was taken from us very suddenly, never had a chance to say goodbye, right? And so there
Yeah.
was like a tragedy at the end of his life. So I walk around, right? Am I going to make him proud, all these things?
Yeah.
And I also am like, this whole world
Yeah.
is BS, because
Mm.
I'm like, the people who are up here,
Yeah.
what did they do to get up there? Are they
Yeah.
really, like, is this really a meritocracy? Are they really the best? Is Jeff Bezos really the best business person who's ever been alive, right? Mark
Yeah.
Zuckerberg? Or is are they, you know, is this a monopoly? Are they cheating us all out of opportunity,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And because I know our schools are not functioning well. They're not equal.
Mm.
There's no meritocracy in the schools.
Yeah.
And so I just have this chip on my shoulder. It's like, why do some families make it? Why do some families not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do I have some family members who make it? Why do I have some family members that do not?
Yeah.
Is it just hard work and pulling yourself by the right? And
Yeah.
so I've got this chip on my shoulder, and I also have this fear that maybe I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the work. Thank you for the work and for the passion and for the passion to keep going forward, even when you're feeling those moments of like, can I get through? Can I do this? Can I do this? And I think I I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you for being in this conversation. I appreciate you for being willing to share some of your story. I think one of the things at this point, like and I think we see this a lot, but right now, like the fact that since 2011, 12, when we met, like, I saw the fire in you. I was like, man, I had to have my A game when I went into class. I'm like, anytime I showed up a little late, coming, I'm like, oh, you over there, you got your note. I was like like I felt the fire in you that was like I could feel it. Like I could feel it from across the table. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And so I'm
mm.
glad that we've, stayed, connected in the peripheries, but I hope that this next season is allowed, as you're in this entrepreneurial role and doing your work, that it allows us to continue connecting in meaningful ways.
Yeah, man. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I admire and respect you. I know a little bit of your journey. Now I know it a little bit more, but I know, right? I mean, right? We ran into each other at the Battery, right? When you made that pitch, right? And it was like, in life, we're gonna keep circling around each other,
That's
right?
right.
We're gonna see each other in
That's right.
different stages of life, because we're in different industries
Yeah.
per se, but we
Yeah.
have a lot of commonalities, and I'm just going to continue to support in any way I can. And I just really appreciate this opportunity to have this conversation, because I don't know, like, no one, truthfully, no one really asks,
Man. Well, that's
you
our
know?
work. And I imagine you see that with the entrepreneurs you work with too. One thing I would like to, as we close up, I want to make sure that people can find you and the ways that you want them to find you. What what are you up to? Like, how can people follow the work that you're up to? I know you talked about working with entrepreneurs, but I don't know how much you want to say about that, but definitely want to make sure people can reach out and follow you. So can you say a little bit about that as much as you're able?
Yes. So I would say if anyone wants to start a business, if you and 1 out of 2 adults is going to start a business in their life, right? Entrepreneurship truly is the way to have autonomy and freedom to create value. Unfortunately, not everyone, it's easy to start a business, it's very difficult to create a profitable business. And so I'm a co founder and a partner at ESO Ventures, and we're in the business of building great entrepreneurs and helping sole proprietors, basically a business of one person, become employer enterprises. And we started that work in East Oakland, right, with my two partners, Ben Wanzo, Martha Hernandez. And we started it about 18 months ago, and it just took off. I mean, it like a rocket. And it's just because right people, right place, the right moment
Yeah.
for, and our focus is Black and brown entrepreneurs. Our focus is Latino and Black entrepreneurship. How do we help? And it's not just tech focused. If you got a dream, you want to be an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
get that like incubator experience, get that community, get that accountability, work on your fundamentals.
Yeah.
And we got funding from the state of California to provide that first investment. So we're able to make an investment through the
Nice.
ESO Capital and the Community Fund, $5K to $30,000 in an entrepreneur at the beginning of their journey to get that business off the ground. It's a
That's
dream.
fantastic. That's
It's a dream.
fantastic. And I think I imagine any of you out there who are in that realm, like thinking about starting your own thing, you've been dreaming about it. You've been like, okay, 2022 is going to be the year. Hey, when you reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Will you tell them the
ESO
website
Ventures.
that they can find you? What is the
Yep.
website? Yeah.
www.eso-ventures.com.
Okay.
You can find me on LinkedIn, Alfredo Mathew. Um, Alfredo at eso-ventures.com. Like literally, I respect people who take the steps forward.
Yeah.
Right now, let's say 100 people here that,
Yeah.
and oh man, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to do this. Out of 100, 20 people will say, you know what, I'm going to reach out.
Yep.
Out of those 20, maybe 5 will actually do something. I might just wait. I'm going to wait because I want to know the 1 or 2 people who are going to make me respond. And literally, if you respond and we have a conversation and you show that you have the fire,
Yeah.
I'll give you my number. We'll start texting.
Yeah.
And literally, if you're hungry, I have the food for you. I have
Mm.
money. I've got coaches. I've got incubators. And we're doing it with the community colleges. We've
Man,
got the city of Oakland. We got the state of California. We're building an infrastructure
that's
to
right.
help entrepreneurs.
Let's do it. I'm proud of you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for that work. Thank you for what you're doing for folks in the community and for people who have a dream who may not have had people who set the road for them, but they're digging their own road. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
And listen, we'll put all those contact spots in the show notes. And man,
Cool.
I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast.
Ashanti, a pleasure. Thank you, brother.
Eu sou melhor. Eu sou melhor.
Você é melhor. Você
Eu sou...
está tudo jóia.
Tudo
Tudo
joia.
jóia.
That's for those that don't
Tudo
know. That's
jóia.
Portuguese. Total joy. Total joy is what I feel right now. I'm finishing this conversation. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Be well. Take
And
care.
folks, if you want to make a mask out there, you can do that at 100kmasks.com. And we look forward to you being a part of the movement to help people around the world realize that they're not alone. See you soon. Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie. Editing, videography is also by Ryan Louie. Graphics by Kelly Wong. And a special thanks to the team at Ever Forward, Vanessa Cortez and Kevin Romero. I'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast. As we hit this 1 year anniversary, we hope that everyone who's been a part knows that they're a part of the Taking Off the Mask experience. And we look forward to you being a part of it as well. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe, and share. And we look forward to us continuing to offer conversations that matter. Take care. See you soon.